Friends, this lecture is about society, Indian society in particular, and we want to talk about those concepts which are relevant in decision making for the practicing managers. So this is not a course on Indian sociology. It deals with only some limited aspects, some limited concepts of Indian society, which might be considered by practicing managers in industries, in railways, in civil service organizations, and also in community organizations. For us, the scope of management is very broad. So I share some of my slides. And this presentation, as I said, is about characteristics of Indian society. And I think that the managers must understand, irrespective of in which branch of management they are, human relations, HRM, or operation research, or anything, they must understand some basic aspects of society. They must understand the role of networks, institutions, family, what is endogamy, exogamy, what is ethnicity, Sanskritization, Westernization, and little tradition and grand tradition. And because the basic assumption of sociology is, and I think you will all agree with me, that a man does not act in isolation. Society or social structure, what we broadly call sum total of relationships of expectations, wherever we are, in whatever position we are, in whatever status we are, there are certain roles expected from us. And we also involved in certain expected relationships with others. Sum total of all these relationships is called social structure. It's an abstract concept. But this social structure is so central to study of society that we can say that our values, our standards of behavior, our ideas of goodness and badness, our wants, our desires, our needs even, they depend on the social structure of society. Sources and content of information about the environment, goods and services available, and from where to obtain them is also dependent on social structure. Some facility may be available, some health facility may be available, some product may be available, and good quality product may be available. But if people are ignorant about that, then availability is of no use. The decision-making process, our mental models, a pure sociologist will say that even our mental models, our attitudes, and our decision-making processes depend on our statuses in society and our value system, our structure, value system of society, which we have internalized into ourselves. In the new age, or in the post-modernization, in the post-globalization phase, social structure to some extent stands replaced by escape, network, mobility, fluidity, and so on. But the importance of social structure has not become unimportant. Social structure, I will take a middle position that social structure is there, but increasingly our behavior is determined by escape, network, mobility, etc., and not so much by social structure. But yet, social structure is important. Society is sui generis, and when we talk of society, what do we talk about? You must know that a society consists of demographic composition, age, sex, marital status, and all your sales, all the targets of production would depend on the age distribution of population, When the median age of population changes, the goods and services which are bought by people also change. And there is very little demand for elderly services in healthcare when the median age of population is low as in Uganda, 18 years. But when the median age of population goes up to say 40, 42, 44 years, as in Europe, and a large number of people and join the age group 60 plus or 80 plus, then the elderly health services become quite prominent. Similarly, sex, male-female composition, marital status. Many services will depend on marital status, occupation, industry, religion, urban-rural distribution, regional composition. All these things will determine your sales targets, attitude towards work, motivation, commitment, morale, everything. Society has institutions of power, marriage, law, education, production, and culture. Power is solely vested in state, solely in the sense that state is the legitimate user of power. Power that belongs to state is considered to be legitimate, and state consists of parliament, executives, police, and judiciary. There are other sources of power also, but they are considered to be illegitimate sources. Then there are non-party political groups, interest groups, lobbies, non-government organizations, trade unions, community, civil society organizations, and others like poets, literary groups, intellectuals, historians, media. They also exert influence on social consciousness or people's consciousness and people's behavior. In India, the major factors or institutions of society are, at one time we had a joint family, but gradually a process of nucleation of family is on. In urban areas at least, when rural people migrate to work in urban areas, they move with their wives and children, and therefore urban family is predominantly nuclear. Then people are connected to two families, families which they form themselves and families in which they were born. There are also in several regions, several areas in India, blood relations are also very important. And in the forms of marriage, there is endogamy, that you will marry within the caste. There is exogamy, you will marry outside the gotra. And in some areas, especially in South India, you are expected to marry within the close relatives. Then there is a caste, community. Community in Indian context means religion, and within each religion there are communities. So as there are Brahmins and Shudras among Hindus, there are also Ashrafs and Ajlafs among Muslims, and same is the case with the Syrian Christians and Goan Christians. Then a large number of people still live in village community. People have their ethnic, linguistic, state, cultural identity, and the society changes due to a number of factors, some within, some from outside. Within factors are Sanskritization. M.N. Srinivas gave this concept of Sanskritization, that the people belonging to lower caste start emulating the lifestyle of the upper caste, so that in 1 or 2 generations, they can claim a superior status on the caste hierarchy. M.N. Srinivas believed that the caste hierarchy has never been fixed. There has always been a hierarchy, but who is at the top and who is at the bottom was not fixed. Then there is modernization, which happens, modernization and westernization. Modernization is techno-economic, westernization is change of values, which happen due to heterogenetic changes. When we come in contact with other cultures. And during the British period, this westernization occurred quite fast. But after independence, some people say that the speed of westernization was further increased because our model became the model of competing with the Western countries in techno-economic sense and also in the sense of values. There is also an interaction between little tradition and grand tradition. Little tradition refers to local culture, grand tradition refers to all India or macro level or national level or larger regional level culture and religion. And many aspects of the local traditions are accepted, are absorbed by the great tradition, and that becomes part of universalization process. And many parts of the great traditions go down to the lowest areas, to small villages, tribal areas, and that becomes parochialization. Friends, this question, certainly this question comes to your mind, why should management look at social factors? Because people and their needs are the target of production. Demographics affect the demands and preferences for products and services. Now, when demographic transition is taking place and number of children has started reducing today, obviously after 5-10 years, the demand for primary schools will decrease. Already we are facing a situation in which a large number of government and private schools have lesser enrollment than they had in the past. The pressure to admit students has almost vanished. And this effect of this age cohort will continue towards upper schools. Today it is in primary school, tomorrow it will be in secondary school. During last 10-15 years, a large number of engineering colleges have been opened, but because of demographic transition, many of them will start closing down after 15-20 years. With improvement in life expectancy, it is easier to reduce insurance premiums. Yeah, you know that insurance premiums are reducing, and that is part of advertisement. But that is not because the insurance companies have become more humane or more passionate or more service oriented. That is largely because there is an improvement in life expectancy. There was a time when in India life expectancy was only 20 years. Now it has gone up to 70 years. Human relations school focuses on social groups for morale and productivity. That is a direct relevance of sociology in industrial formal organization. And needs, so-called needs of people, Maslow's needs, even basic needs depend on the nature and development of society, or at least how do people satisfy their needs depend on nature and development of society. And with globalization, modernization, consciousness, human development, there is a new requirement for diversity management, that all organizations must have people belonging to all age groups, gender, classes, regions, religions, etc., etc. This is a new requirement. So as society changes, new issues also come up, and today you have to meet these things. I give you 3 examples of interaction between society and business. Field workers appointed by a prestigious cement company gave the feedback from UP that in villages there is a high demand for their brand because it has a high brand value, but their cement is not producing good results and people are becoming dissatisfied. The reasons were not associated with the quality of cement. The reasons were associated with lack of appropriate curing, appropriate use of Sharia, and a wrong ratio of cement and sand. Uh, to prove its value, to keep the worker, to keep the client satisfied and get sale, therefore the company needs to take up behavior change communication. You know, it is on the basis of feedback from society that the company feels a need to take up behavior change communication, to inform people to change their behavior, to appreciate the importance of curing, to appreciate the importance of right amount of Sharia, and to appreciate the right ratio of cement and sand. Another example I give, that a top manager in a company shared that once one of his most favorite assistant was late for some reason. He said to his assistant, though in a lighter vein, that you are behaving like, and he named the caste, name of his caste. The assistant took it so offensive, so seriously, that the next day he left the job. It was a certain loss to the company. It was certainly a loss to the company. So this shows the importance of caste identity and how caste identity affects the behavior of employees in the organization. Remember that people have strong caste, religious, and gender identities, and you must respect. As a manager, you must respect them. Third, market is a social space. Buying behavior interacts with religion, caste, and other identities. My interviews with buyers from different communities reveals that a higher proportion of Muslims prefer Ruh Afza than Sharbat-e-Azam or juices from Patanjali. When I taste Ruh Afza or I taste Sharbat-e-Azam, I find that they are very similar. And the ingredients of the two are also very similar. But because Ruh Afza is prepared by Hamdard, a Muslim organization, so on the occasion of Eid or Ramjan, on the occasion of Ramjans, a large number of Muslims tend to buy Ruh Afza, even in black, by paying more money. And they do not, some liberal minded may buy Sharbat-e-Azam also, but not so much. And Patanjali juices, Patanjali products are not so much popular among Muslims. This is a fact. If you ignore the hidden association of your product and company with identities, then you will lose. In a plural country like India, your brand must stand for all citizens. Similarly, advertisements need to be particularly sensitive to human values and institutions. A Vicks ad shows how a transgender applies Vicks to an adopted girl. Very good. And this shows that we are in a stage that we have started accepting the place of transgenders in our society. Avenger uses a woman moving freely to stress on the value of women liberation and quotes Mahatma Gandhi to support the idea. The ad was released on the Independence Day. I find a social content in all this. Dabur uses an ad of putting bindi on a cancer woman to convey that beauty is inner. Beauty is the inner beauty and manifests in different forms. So, and problems with the body does not imply that a woman has become less beautiful. Changes in society offer changes in resources and choices. India has faced invasions for thousands of years, Mughal period, British period, development processes after independence have further restructured Indian society. Independence has restructured society in unprecedented ways, and globalization is causing social change again in unprecedented and uncertain ways. Let us little bit talk about these issues. The main resources are from Yogen Singh and M.N. Srinivas. Singh asserts that in Indian sociology, There is a lack of theoretical framework that explains the process of change and restructuration. All societies have structures, but structures are changing. The structure of Indian society changed during the Mughal period. It further changed during the British period because they passed new laws, and after independence, new laws, new institutions, new awareness, new values, constitution, and we lack a theory. Sociologists in India lack a theory in terms of which India's social structure and restructuring of society can be explained to the satisfaction of all sociologists. The present theories only sensitize the students of society to certain aspects of the reality, not all. The existing theories are merely viewpoints or dilettantes, and views not so much based on evidence, not based on seriously conducted researches, which is a product of ideology of change that is indifferent to the goals of social justice. Carry, and because they are dilettantes, they carry communal, sectarian, and primordial viewpoints. Their theories depend on to which religion they belong, to which sect they belong, and the primordial viewpoints like caste. Social scientists have intellectual differentiations based on social origin. This is Yogen Singh, and he is, in my view, quite right, except the empirical and mathematical part or database, evidence-based social sciences. In the field of theory, this thing can easily be seen. Foreseeing the initial conditions of change, the British period, caste was the dominant institution, regional institution, to shape social structure with lot of internal autonomy, economy, culture, and judicial. A new colonial administrative structure was superimposed on caste. Then industrialization, infrastructure building, and deindustrialization. Both of them went together in industrialization and deindustrialization. Industrialization in the sense of giant companies, textile, steel, shipyard, manufacturing sector, and deindustrialization of indigenous industry. Indigenous textile, metallurgy, management of water bodies, irrigation, and neglect of cultural and knowledge system. In this process, there was a movement of certain high caste, because high castes were more educated or more ambitious or more in touch with the British administrators. So movement of certain high caste to upper echelons of British administration, armed forces, and education. There was complete damage to the regional resilient system, means the original caste system that had existed for a long time and maintained a balance, sanity, some kind of equity, peace, stability. And reforms and national movements have also changed the social structure. Now, independence brought a new constitution, new legal institutions like Karta of undivided Hindu family for income tax purposes, attempts to abolish institutions based on exploitation and inequality, institutions which were considered by the British people or by the top authorities, top administration in India, which was highly westernized, and they thought that some institutions are based on exploitation and inequality, were abolished. Abolition of intrastructural autonomy, the principles of inequality, equality based on caste, birth, religion, sex were abolished, and new institutions implied change and adaptation to change. There was also over-urbanization. Cityward migration started because rural areas had population surplus. Agriculture was not so productive. There was high unemployment or underemployment or insecurity or caste inequality, and urban areas gave them some hope. Opportunities of education, especially in science, technology, medicine, and professions continued to be the preserve of the privileged groups. This happened in the early independence period. Rural areas were also transformed. Rapid social restructuration of rural areas, green revolution in some areas, and the rise of peasant caste, consolidation of peasant, middle peasantry such as Jats, Kurmis, Yadavas, the Kunvis, Patels, and Patidars, the Marathas, the Kamas, Reddys, and Rajus, the Banyars and Nadars. Therefore, conflicts and consensus between castes and communities took a new shape. New forms of conflicts and consensus. Who will ally with whom? And who will fight with whom? Which group will fight with which other group? All those things change. And on the other hand, the tradition of Bhakti movement led to some kind of reform among Hindus and brought all castes from highest caste to lowest caste together in the Bhakti devotion. That in the Bhakti or before the God, before Vishnu or before Hanuman or before Ram or before Krishna, all are equal. Mercantile and industrial entrepreneurship also developed. There was a rise of urban middle class. However, the new entrepreneurs that developed after 1960s have a new value system which was very different from the traditional value system of India. And different groups and communities are responding differently to demands of science. This is another crucial point in sociology of Indian society. In adoption, a scientific rational perspective as an entrepreneur and professional, but a different symbolic and ideological response to change on the part of the larger society. M.N. Srinivas saw the growth of corruption and violence. In this situation of change, M.N. Srinivas saw the growth of corruption and violence, which grew phenomenally. License, permit, transfer, posting were marked by corruption, or they were means of corruption. The mythology of corruption, that ordinary people talk gaily of chief ministers who made a few hundred crores in the course of 2 or 3 years. General climate of violence, a total acceptance of violence after independence due to corruption, politics, and the change of the entire milieu. There is a greater acceptance of violence, murders, gang wars, and rape. Since politics is the source of power of all sorts of people, smugglers, black marketeers, and mafias went to fight elections. Initially, they supported the politicians, but gradually they found that politics is a rich opportunity. So why should they themselves not join the politics? And the result is this, that today among MLAs and MPs, you find a very good percentage of those having a criminal record. Excessive catering of power in center leading to violence. For example, before the formation of Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Uttarakhand, Telangana, intergroup violence as between dominant caste and scheduled caste and sons of the soil and outsiders. In several parts of the country, this conflict between sons of the soil and outsiders is taking place, and some states are even reserving jobs for reserving a high percentage of jobs for those belonging to those states or who have the domicile certificate, and restricting entry of people or workers from outside. There is a huge improvement in living condition, there is no doubt. Huge and growing market, globalization, number and percentage of households having TV, VCR, washing machine, food processor, two-wheelers and cars has increased. And these TV and VCRs and motorcycles have increased not only in urban areas, but they have also increased in tribal areas. They have also increased in Naxalite affected areas. And this leads to a new status. This leads to a clear mark between haves and have-nots in both urban and rural areas. Consumer durables among better off sections in the rural areas show them in a distinct mark. Education as a source of status, wealth, good marriage, and social standing, producing education misfits. There is a tremendous demand for English medium schools. Forget about the quality of English medium schools. In villages also, people want to send their children to English medium schools. And a lot of private schools have emerged. There is mushrooming growth of private schools which are English medium. And nobody bothers about how many teachers are there, what is the quality of education, what is the methodology of teaching, how much can children benefit from them. But there is mushrooming growth of such schools. There is also reservation for SCs, STs, and OBCs. Overall, at the national level, 50%, but some states like Karnataka and Tamil Nadu have reserved a much higher percentage of seats for SCs, STs, and OBCs. And OBCs are further getting divided into more backward and less backward. Capitation fee among private institutions and universities started with Karnataka is leading to admissions of rich but mediocre students. So mediocre students from upper caste who are not getting admitted to government colleges and institutions have found a via media through private institutions and universities. And they started with Karnataka, but today in all states of India, including UP and Bihar, you find a lot of such institutions where mediocres can find admission through capitation fee, through donation. And that means quality of education suffers, and quality of engineers, quality of doctors, quality of degree holders, certificate holders, diploma holders will suffer. Many engineering graduates are unemployed, and not only unemployed, but they are considered to be unemployable. They do not possess the requisite knowledge, capability, or understanding of engineering systems such that an engineering company would like to hire them. There is an increase in dowry for doctors, engineers, and officers, and dowry enhances family status. Dowry is considered to be bad, and dowry is illegal, and at the same time, dowry and large expenditure on parties is considered to be a symbol of family status. All great political parties or rich people or people belonging to princely states or landlords, zamindars, affluent farmers, they are spending a lot on the marriage of their daughters and sons. And dowry, in principle, bad, but in practice is accepted, demanded, and is considered to be a symbol of status. There is no regard for innate talent among children. Educated parents want them to join professional career only to enhance their image among relatives and neighbors. So irrespective of assessment of innate talent among children, everybody wants their son or daughter to join IIT, IIM, NIT, or other professional institutions, or IIMs, or AIMS, And nowadays there are so many IIMs, so many AIMS, and so many IIT. This is Indian condition. And for that, they send children to coaching centers. There are lots of ironies, a mix of illiteracy and production of third largest pool of scientific and technological specialists. India has the third largest pool of scientists and technological specialists, and India also has a very large number of illiterate people in the world. So there is a paradox, irony. This leads to brain drain, and as compared to those who went abroad for education in 40s and 50s, those who go abroad now do not want to return. There are several reasons. Money is not the only reason. Certainly they get more money outside, but there are family reasons that the children want to get rid of the pressures of the joint family. They want to live independently, and they want to establish their nuclear family, and they do not want interference from their parents. And you will quite often hear that, and also in the foreign countries, in developed countries, opportunities to work are also better. So you grow faster. And if you remain in India, irrespective of the quality of institutions or industries, because the conditions of the technological conditions, the labor relations, the human relations, the overall atmosphere, the condition, and your assessment of what works, what does not work, and lack of role models, you do not grow so much. The same person who does wonders by going to Harvard or Oxford, if he decides to return to India, becomes a relatively less productive person and sometimes unproductive person. So people say, my son or my daughter does not want to come back. What is there to come back? They are right. At the centers of higher learning have become cockpits for caste, regional, and linguistic conflicts and intrigue. Thus, teaching and research are in deplorable condition. My experience of several institutions shows that this is the case, and I, without any hesitation, I can say that the quality of teaching and research, even in some of the best institutions of the country, is not up to the international level. It can be improved further. There are some very good people. There are some people who hold international prestige, but there are very few such people. Merit has become a dirty word in the lexicon of caste quotas and progressives. There is an emergence of a new culture, sizable middle class, which is good for business. Consumption, advertisement, and variety of consumer goods, good. Pressure to buy goods even when not needed, that also helps the industry. High purchase schemes, credit card, chit funds, periodic sales as consequences, which will also indirectly do good to industry, to business in the beginning at least. Teenagers recognizable for this distinctive dress, hairstyle, lingo, habits, and lifestyle. So certain types of industries will flourish. Their heroes and heroines are sportsmen, athletes, film stars, rock musicians, and models. There is disco dancing, new dance form. And disco for me is a representative of the new dance form. Disco is only one. And smoke pot, mutual incomprehension between older people and the youth. So there is an expanding gap between generations, old people and the young people, and consumerism is creating a wider gulf between the rich and the poor. We say that at one time there was great inequality between, say, high caste and low caste in India. But I wonder what kind of inequality that would be my friends, and not thousands of years ago, uh, some of the people slightly senior to me who have come from rural areas of Odisha or Bihar or other such places say that when they were children, then shoes were a luxury. Neither Brahmins nor peasants nor the Shudras had a pair of shoes. So similarly, clothes. Everybody has similar clothes, and so when there was poverty, poverty poverty itself provides a solution to the problem of inequality. When affluence rises, then inequality also rises, and there is a greater gap between rich and poor today. Political power is the supreme value, and you should be careful about that. You should, if you are a business manager, then you must maintain cordial relationships with all political parties. You must give them funds, donations, and particularly with the ruling party. All managers know this. Power has a glamour, uniform sentries, resplendently dressed servants, government cars, telephones, PAs, hundreds of favor seekers who throng the compounds of power, all serve to proclaim the magic of power. Power is instrumental for attaining wealth, prestige, and status. Today, you do not even ask a question that this man who was so poor 3-4 years ago, uh, how did he accumulate so much of wealth, and how did he construct so many houses in different cities since he became a political leader, or he joined a protest movement. Both political leaders in power and those in the movements and protests are gaining wealth, prestige, and status. Power is legitimizer of all achievement. Ministers are asked to open, inaugurate, release, preside over, chair, and grace all kinds of functions. Coming together of the politicians and the renouncers, or men in ochre robes who are involved in different welfare activities and who possess power to perform miracles. Politicians are supporting. So they, Godman, in this context, Godman command large following. If you see the web series on ashram, you can find that lot of Godmen and who ultimately proved to be criminals have been supported by the political parties and all political parties because they thought that these Godmen are can influence the voting behavior of a large section of society on the basis of their magical influence, or the magical influence may be on some particular caste or on sects or regions, and all political parties. So political parties, in place of creating an atmosphere of rationality, equality, awareness, consciousness, politics, which is the supreme institution, most powerful institution of the country, is creating lots of problems, and managers have to be careful about maintaining relationships with them. There are enhanced opportunities and acute competition for obtaining access to resources such as education, employment, and comfortable standard of living among the middle classes. And that also means stressors and anxieties, more stresses, more anxieties, ailments related to them, lifestyle diseases, blood pressure, nervous tension, hyperacidity, insomnia. Almost all the diseases are caused by stressors, including cancer. Inefficiency, inability to cope with the many demands made, nervous breakdown, prayers, and one way of coping with the stressors and physical and mental elements is prayers, meditation, visits to temples and pilgrimage centers for relief. And there is a rise of astrologers all educated people want to consult astrologers. Lower classes too, temple visits, oracles, amulets, exorcists, and holy men. They visit all of them, and there is a hypocrisy. Critics of astrology, when you are discussing with them, intellectuals and middle classes, they will leave the impression of being a critic of astrology, but they also visit astrologers. There is a difference between theory and practice, and perhaps I always remember M.N. Srinivasa's concept of cultural schizophrenia, which explains this quite well. What next? Srinivas says, what we need is people's movement to lessen corruption, to see that development plans do not destroy the environment, to ensure gender equality, to decentralize the power, to combat growing consumerism, to tendency to autocracy. Institutions such as recall, we need the institution of recall. If you are not happy with your political representative, MLA or MP, you must have power to recall. Then voluntary associations in the execution of development and welfare work through public-private partnership. At the individual level, a message that happiness lies not in consumption, but in doing the work of your satisfaction. Many times, Bhutan is given as an example of one of the happiest countries, although the level of socio-economic development in Bhutan is not so much. So, and the major development in terms of level of happiness. Use your gifts for the benefit of those who are weaker. Here, gifts means whatever you possess. This is the Gandhi's concept of trusteeship, and Srinivas in one of his articles talks about this. And I have always been telling this. Trusteeship, whatever you possess. You may possess mental power, you may possess physical power, you may have education, may have money. So you become a trustee of that. Generally, people think that Gandhiji made several industrialists trustee of their wealth, that industry must flourish, but the profit of industry must be used in the interest of people. Today, a concept of corporate social responsibility is also very similar to that. But I will say everybody can be a trustee. You have something at least. You have physical power. You may be a wrestler, but no money. You may have you may be an intellectual. Whatever you are, use your resources for the benefit of society. This is what trusteeship will mean. And now this situation is leading to counter ideologies of insurgent, subaltern group. You have to make compromises with all of them. Outside the hegemonic groups, lack of scientific, rational, national culture based on consensus, and you must be aware of this. In one of the first lectures, I said that you need to be trained in sociology of emotions, and you must promote these values of communalism, fundamentalism, and new conservatism. There are opportunities for business managers. There is a large youthful population, what is called demographic dividend, a large size of skilled and educated manpower, presence of a large number of purposeful voluntary organizations, functioning democracy and a clear political verdict, a strong presence of print and electronic media. And to this, I can also add changing labor laws and the institution of contractual labor. That because of old laws and because of greater power on the part of unionized workers in large industries, there was a difference between insiders and outsiders. Insiders were paid more, insiders were having all kinds of benefits, and the outside them. And these insiders were hardly 6 to 8%. The rest of the population consisted of low wages, small farmers, or involuntary employed people, Now the situation can change because government is going for contractual labor. But already such laws have been passed and rules have been simplified. All kinds of labor laws have been divided into 4 codes. They have been simplified, modified, and the time is good for the new industry, because it is felt that in old industry has become very costly from the point of view of labor cost. There is also a challenge that along with scientific and technological developments, creation of integrated and progressive basis of modernization based on socialism, secularism, equality, fraternity, human dignity, justice, and the unity and integrity of the nation, which are some objectives of the Indian Constitution. We have to achieve all of them. So, the big industries, or even a small industry, medium-sized industries, must act in a manner that they protect the environment and they also go for diversity management, give equal opportunities to people belonging to lower caste, give opportunities to transgenders, give opportunity to women, give opportunity to people belonging to other religions or minorities. And how can this happen without being at the cost of the profit is really a challenge. So by challenge, I mean that this is a challenge that we have to go for these values, constitutional values and human rights, and values propounded by United Nations, and the various concepts of justice, fairness. So industry must also show to politicians from whom they will require favor, and to society that they follow these things. I think that industries which will follow justice and human dignity, justice, diversity will be able to sell much better than the traditional kind of industry. Managers must particularly be sensitive to population change, changes in economic institutions, urban-rural conflicts, social. So, if you can produce more in rural areas and perhaps you can produce more in rural areas. Many IT companies are working in rural areas and involving less educated women, and they are doing very well. So that should be preferred. Social conflicts and communal riots, and you must understand them, theories and implication, because their sudden rise can affect your industry or your organization or your processes. You must also be sensitive to planning processes. What is government of India going to do? If government of India is going for new labor laws, then you try to take benefit of them. Try to understand Panchayati Raj system and new education policy. Social change requires new forms of management. Niti Aayog, under its memorandum of understanding with Singapore Corporation Enterprise, will launch a capacity building program on urban management program focusing on water recycling and reuse on 26 November 2018. I'm quoting it. So all these things are happening. What I want to say that this is happening with the objective of building capacities of ULBs, para-statal bodies and state government officials. The program will be covering 8 states which have been selected through challenge method, namely Karnataka, Meghalaya, Punjab, Pondicherry, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, and West Bengal. The source of this paragraph is this, Niti Aayog government. Thank you. So now, friends, I stop sharing my slides. What I wanted to say that the industrial managers or business managers must try to understand what kind of society they are working in, what are the value systems, what are the institutions. There are many institutions of society or rules of the game centered around certain activities. They are marriage, family, economic activity, uh, religion, politics, culture, education. You must try to understand. You must try to understand the demographic transition theory. Very important for your targets, fixing your targets, because demographic transition is changing requirements of various kinds of goods and services enormously, and and demand for goods which were earlier produced for children are declining because of this factor. They may be increasing slightly, or in some cases because of fashion, change of values, westernization, modernization, but otherwise uh, mainly due to population, they are declining because the population of children is shrinking. But the demand for service, geriatric services, and all other kinds of services which the old people require are going to increase. So this is one thing. And the another thing is the change of values, that we have a constitution and we believe in equity, we believe in equality, diversity, um, secularism, fraternity, and so on. So, as far as possible, you must try to, to show at least, to show to government, to show to your shareholders, to show to the public that you follow these norms. Try to increase the participation of women, minorities, backward regions, rural areas, and transgenders, and other people who are lagging behind. So, one thing, understanding the social trends, understanding the social institution, following the values, and understanding the power structure of society. These four things are of special importance to uh, business managers. I see that already close to 1 hour has passed, so I cannot go deeper into sociological concepts more, but I hope that this discussion will raise some points in your mind, and you will be able to act uh, more effectively, keeping in mind the societal factor. Thank you very much.